The weapon discharged 3 feet from Danny Carter's head. He didn't flinch. The alien warrior holding it did. Danny stood in the cargo bay of the merchant vessel Celestial Drift, hands raised but not shaking. Around him, 12 crew members cowered behind storage containers, while 6 armored figures surrounded them. The raiders had breached the hull 40 seconds ago. Danny counted. He always counted during crisis situations. "Your credits," the lead raider demanded in broken standard. Her voice crackled through the translator, mounted on her chest plate. Danny's supervisor, Greg Morrison, fumbled with his data pad. "Take it. Take everything. Just don't hurt anyone." The raider captain scanned the crew with cold efficiency. Danny noticed her gaze lingering on certain individuals. She wasn't just looking for valuables. She was assessing potential hostages, or worse. "You," she pointed at Danny. "Step forward." Danny complied, moving slowly. The raider's weapon tracked his movement. Up close, he could see her species better. Scaled skin, amber eyes with vertical pupils, powerful build, Vexorian. If he remembered the species database correctly, known for their military culture and strict honor codes. "What's your function on this vessel?" she asked. "Cargo specialist. I move boxes and check inventory." She studied him for a long moment. "You're calm. Too calm. Military training?" Danny shook his head. "Just good, under pressure." One of the other raiders approached the captain and whispered something. She nodded, then addressed the crew. "We're taking supplies. Cooperate, and you live." The raiders began loading containers onto hover sleds. Danny watched their efficiency. Professional. Organized. Not random pirates. These were soldiers, operating under discipline. "Hey," a voice whispered beside him. Katie Brooks, the ship's communications officer, had crawled closer. "Are they going to kill us?" "Not if we stay useful," Danny whispered back. The captain's head snapped toward them. "Silence." Danny nodded acknowledgement. Katie pressed against the floor, trembling. Minutes passed. The raiders worked quickly, selecting specific containers. They knew what they wanted. Danny's mind raced. Someone had fed them intelligence about the cargo manifest. This wasn't a random hit. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights flooded the bay. The ship lurched violently to one side. Danny grabbed a support beam. Katie slid across the floor, stopped only by a container. "What's happening?" the raider captain demanded, into her comm unit. A panicked voice responded in their language. Danny caught fragments through the translator. Something about engine failure. "Critical systems offline." The captain's eyes widened. "Evacuate. Now." Her squad moved instantly toward their boarding craft. But the ship lurched again. Harder this time. The artificial gravity flickered. For 3 seconds, everyone floated. When gravity returned, it came back at double strength. Danny's knees buckled, but held. Several raiders and crew members collapsed. "Hull breach detected in Section 12, the ship's automated voice announced. "Emergency protocols engaged. Sealing compartments." Metal doors began slamming shut throughout the vessel, isolating damaged sections. The raider captain shouted orders, but 2 of her soldiers were on the wrong side of a closing bulkhead. The door sealed with a hydraulic hiss. "Override it," she commanded one of her remaining troops. The soldier worked frantically at the control panel. Another violent shudder. The lights cut out completely. Emergency backup systems kicked in 5 seconds later, bathing everything in dim blue light. Danny assessed the situation rapidly. The ship was dying. The raiders were trapped with them, and judging by the captain's expression, her crew on the other side of that door was in serious danger. "The main reactor is overloading," Greg said, staring at his datapad with a pale face. "We have maybe 10 minutes before the containment fails." The raider captain grabbed Greg by his collar and lifted him effortlessly. "Fix it." "I can't. I'm just a cargo supervisor. I don't have engineering access." She threw him aside and turned to her remaining soldiers. Find another way out. Now, Danny spoke up. There's a maintenance shaft 3 sections over. Leads to the engineering deck. If we can reach it before the automatic seals. Close that area too. Everyone looked at him. The captain narrowed her eyes. How do you know this? I read the ship's layout when I came aboard. Seemed smart. Can you guide us there? Danny met her gaze steadily. Will you help us evacuate too? The captain hesitated. One of her soldiers spoke urgently in their language. She responded sharply, then looked back at Danny. We help each other survive. After that, we part ways. Agreed? Danny glanced at the terrified crew members huddled behind containers, then at the sealed door trapping the captain's people. He knew what choice he had to make. Agreed. Follow me. He started moving before anyone could object. The captain barked orders. Her 3 remaining soldiers formed up. The merchant vessel's celestial drift shuddered again as systems failed one by one. In the dim emergency lighting, enemies became temporary allies. And Danny Carter, cargo specialist who just wanted to earn enough credits to buy his own transport someday, became their only hope of survival. The maintenance corridor stretched ahead, dark and narrow. Danny led them forward, counting seconds until the reactor breach. 9 minutes remained. The corridor twisted through the ship's infrastructure like an industrial intestine. Pipes lined the walls, some hissing steam from fresh cracks. Danny moved fast but careful, testing each step. Behind him came Katie and Greg, followed by 9 other crew members. The raider captain and her 3 soldiers brought up the rear, weapons ready. Left here, Danny said, ducking through a low opening. They entered a vertical shaft with a ladder descending into darkness. Emergency lights flickered weakly every few meters. How far down? The captain asked. 4 levels. Then we cross through the Water Reclamation Center and reach engineering. Water reclamation? That's a detour. It's the only path not sealed by emergency protocols. The captain studied him. You're remarkably knowledgeable about this ship's layout for a cargo specialist. Graham. Danny started climbing down. I pay attention. Helps me stay alive. 8. They descended in tense silence. The ladder rungs were cold. Every few seconds, the ship groaned around them. Metal stressing beyond design limits. Twice, violent shudders nearly knocked people off the ladder. Danny grabbed Katie's wrist when she slipped, pulling her back. At the bottom, they entered a large chamber filled with massive water tanks and filtration equipment. The air smelled of chemicals and recycled moisture. Status lights blinked warnings on multiple control panels. Through there, Danny pointed to a door on the far side. They were halfway across when a section of ceiling collapsed behind them. Debris crashed down, blocking their path back. One of the crew members, an older man named Pete Richards, screamed as a pipe struck his leg. He went down hard. Greg and Katie rushed to help him. The raider captain didn't slow down. She kept moving toward the exit. Wait, Danny called out. We need to help him. The captain turned, her scaled face unreadable. He'll slow us down. Leave him. No. The word came out harder than Danny intended. The captain's hand moved to her weapon. We help everyone, or we help no one, Danny said. That was the deal. The deal was survival. His survival jeopardizes ours. Then you're no better than the emergency systems sealing people away to die. The captain's eyes flashed with something between anger and respect. One of her soldiers spoke urgently in their language. She responded curtly, then looked back at Danny. 2 minutes. If he can't walk, we leave him. Danny nodded and rushed to Pete. The pipe had crushed his shin badly. Not broken, but severely bruised. Pete's face was gray with pain. I can't walk, Pete gasped. Just go. Save yourselves. Greg, Katie, get on either side of him, Danny ordered. We'll carry him. They lifted Pete between them. He bit back a scream. They moved toward the exit. Slower now, but still moving. The door led to another corridor. This one was worse. Smoke filled the air. Heat radiated from the walls. They were getting close to the reactor section. Oxygen levels dropping. One of the Raider soldiers announced, checking a wrist device. Danny pulled his shirt over his mouth and nose. Others did the same. The smoke thickened. Visibility dropped to a few feet. Katie coughed violently beside him. Then they heard it. A sound that made Danny's blood freeze. The automated voice of the ship's AI, calm and clinical. Reactor containment failure in 5 minutes. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Unforting on. Reverbinis. Reactor containment failure. Unforting on. Reactor containment failure. Immediately. Move faster, the captain commanded. They broke into an awkward run, half carrying Pete between them. The corridor seemed endless. The smoke burned Danny's eyes. His lungs screamed for clean air. A figure appeared ahead in the smoke. Then another. 3 raiders. The ones trapped on the other side of the sealed bulkhead. They looked injured, but alive. The captain spoke rapidly in her language. Relief flooded her features. One of the newly arrived raiders supported Pete, allowing Greg and Katie to move faster. Engineering is ahead. Danny wheezed through smoke. They burst through a final door into the engineering bay. The reactor core dominated the center of the room. A massive cylinder of metal and energy containment. Warning lights covered every surface. 2 engineers worked frantically at control stations, trying to stabilize the failing systems. "Please tell me you can fix this," Danny said. One engineer, a woman with short black hair and grease-stained coveralls, looked up. Her name tag read Martinez. "The magnetic containment is failing. We can't reinitialize from here. Someone needs to manually reset the primary coupling on the reactor exterior." "How long will that take?" the Raider captain asked. 3 minutes if you know what you're doing. 3 minutes and 50 seconds until containment failure, the ship's AI announced helpfully. Martinez pointed to a sealed hatch on the far wall. "Through there. Yellow coupling marked Delta 7. Turn it counterclockwise until it locks. Then push the reset button. Red button. Can't miss it." "The radiation," the other engineer said, a young man barely out of training. "Anyone who goes in there is dead." Everyone fell silent. The reactor hummed ominously behind its shielding. A sound like imminent death. "I'll go," Danny said. Katie grabbed his arm. "Danny, no. You heard him. It's suicide. Someone has to. Otherwise, we're all dead anyway." The Raider captain stepped forward. "I'll do it. My armor provides better radiation shielding than your clothes." Danny shook his head. "You don't know human engineering. You'll waste time figuring it out. I've worked on reactors before. Different ships. I can do this faster." This was a lie. Danny had never touched a reactor in his life. But he'd watched training videos, read technical manuals during boring nights in his quarters. He understood the principles. "Maybe, hopefully, then I'll go with you," the captain said. "My armor will buy you extra time." Danny looked at her. At her soldiers. At his crewmates. At all these people who would die if he didn't try. "Okay, let's move." Martinez handed him a radiation badge. "When it turns black, you're at lethal exposure. You'll have maybe 30 seconds after that before cellular breakdown starts." Danny clipped it to his shirt. The captain checked her armor seals. Together, they approached the hatch. "Wait," Katie said. She pulled a small photo from her pocket and handed it to Danny. "My daughter. When you get back, I want to tell you about her." Danny took the photo. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, smiling at the camera. "I'll hold you to that." He sealed the photo in his pocket. The captain opened the hatch. Heat and radiation washed over them like a physical wall. Beyond the hatch, red emergency lights illuminated a narrow catwalk circling the reactor core. Warning symbols covered every surface. Danny and the captain stepped through. The hatch sealed behind them. The countdown continued. 4 minutes, until everyone died. The reactor core burned like a captured star. Danny felt the heat through his clothes, through his skin, reaching for his bones. The radiation badge on his chest started changing color immediately, shifting from green toward yellow. There, the captain pointed with an armored hand. The coupling was visible 20 feet away, mounted on the reactor's curved exterior. A thick yellow valve, with warning stripes, and a red reset button beside it. Between them and it, the catwalk was damaged. A section had buckled, leaving a 3-foot gap over a drop into the reactor chamber below. "I can jump that," Danny said. "Not in this heat." "You'll pass out." The captain was right. Danny's vision already swam. Each breath felt like inhaling fire. His badge was solid yellow now, creeping toward orange. "Then what do we do?" The captain studied the gap. "I'll extend my arm across. Use it as a bridge. You'll lose your balance. My armor has magnetic locks in the boots. I'll anchor myself." She didn't wait for agreement. She positioned herself at the gap's edge, activated something on her suit, and extended her arm across the void. The armor went rigid, locked in position. "Go. Now." Danny didn't hesitate. He stepped onto her arm, using her rigid armor as a bridge. Her suit held steady despite his weight. He crossed quickly and reached the other side. The coupling was right in front of him. He grabbed the yellow valve and turned counterclockwise. It didn't move. Rust or heat expansion had seized it. "Problem," he called back. "It's stuck. Force it." Danny pulled harder. Nothing. His badge was orange now, darkening toward red. His hands shook. Not from fear. From radiation poisoning already starting at the cellular level. "Reactor containment failure in 2 minutes," the ship's AI announced. Danny braced his feet and threw his entire body weight into turning the valve. His muscles screamed. For a moment, nothing. Then, with a grinding shriek of metal on metal, the valve moved. 1 rotation. 2. 3. It locked into position with a heavy clunk. Danny slapped the red reset button. Nothing happened. His heart stopped. The badge on his chest was red now, racing toward black. "Hit it again," the captain shouted. "Sometimes they stick." Danny pounded the button with his fist. Once. Twice. 3 times. The reactor core's humming changed pitch. Warning lights shifted from red to yellow. A new automated message played. "Emergency reset initiated. Magnetic containment. Stabilizing." Danny sagged against the reactor housing, his legs barely holding him. The captain retracted her arm and gestured urgently. "Move. We need to get you out of here." Danny stumbled back across the gap, using the captain's arm as a bridge again. His coordination was shot. He nearly fell, caught himself, made it across. The captain grabbed him with her other hand and pulled him toward the hatch. "Magnetic containment restored," the ship's AI announced. "Reactor stable. Emergency protocols canceled." The hatch opened. Martinez pulled Danny through. Katie was there, checking his radiation badge with horror on her face. "It's black," she whispered. "It's completely black." Danny looked down. The badge was indeed black, darker than midnight. He'd absorbed enough radiation to kill 3 people. "Get him to medical," Martinez said. "Now. We have anti-radiation meds, but I don't know if they'll be enough." The world tilted. Danny's legs gave out. Strong arms caught him. The raider captain, her helmet removed now, looked down at him with those amber eyes. "You saved us all," she said. "Just returning the favor," Danny managed. Then darkness took him. He woke in the medical bay 3 hours later. Every cell in his body felt wrong, like he was coming apart at the molecular level. A screen beside his bed displayed his vital signs. Several readings were in the red zone. Katie sat in a chair beside him, holding his hand. When his eyes opened, she smiled, with tears on her face. "Hey there, hero. Did everyone make it?" Danny's voice came out as a raspy whisper. Everyone's alive. The ship's stable. We're limping toward the nearest station on backup power, but we'll make it. The raiders? Gone. They took their supplies and left once the crisis was over. The captain wanted to stay, but her people needed medical attention. She left you something, though. Katie handed him a small metallic disc. It was warm to the touch, inscribed with symbols he didn't recognize. What is it? A Vexorian honor token. It means you're owed a debt. A life debt, specifically. Danny turned the disc over in his fingers. It felt heavier than it should. Weighted with meaning. The doctors say you'll survive, Katie continued. The anti-radiation treatment is working, but it'll be weeks before you're fully recovered. You're being transferred to a specialized facility at Meridian Station. That's expensive. Already covered. The captain authorized payment before she left. She also filed a report with Galactic Commerce, clearing the ship's crew of any wrongdoing. We're not in trouble for the raid. Maybe the first. I was no with payment cask. Danny closed his eyes. His body hurt everywhere. A deep ache that went beyond physical pain. But he was alive. They were all alive. Tell me about your daughter, he said. Katie's face lit up. For the next hour, she talked about her little girl waiting for her back home. About birthday parties and school performances and bedtime stories. Danny listened, letting her voice anchor him to the world of the living. Later, after Katie left, Danny studied the honor token. He'd heard stories about Vexorian culture. Their debts were binding. Absolute. The captain would feel obligated to repay what he'd done. He wondered if he'd ever see her again. Part of him hoped not. He'd had enough adventure for a lifetime. But another part, a smaller part he didn't want to acknowledge, felt something else. Curiosity. Maybe even anticipation. Danny Carter fell asleep holding the token, unaware that his life had just become far more complicated than he could possibly imagine. The recovery facility on Meridian Station was state-of-the-art. Clean white walls, medical equipment that hummed softly, and staff who moved with efficient care. Danny spent 3 weeks there, undergoing cellular reconstruction therapy. The radiation had damaged his bone marrow, several organs, and countless other systems. But human medicine, augmented with technology from a dozen alien species, worked miracles. Dr. Lisa Freeman, his primary physician, was a no-nonsense woman who'd served 20 years in the Merchant Marine Medical Corps before retiring to civilian practice. You're lucky, she told him during one examination. Another 30 seconds of exposure and no amount of treatment would have saved you. Your cell structure would have been too degraded. I feel lucky, Danny said, wincing as she injected another round of nanite repair modules into his arm. The Vexorian woman who arranged your treatment, Captain Kresh, has been very insistent on receiving daily updates about your condition. Danny's head snapped up. She has? 5 messages a day. Very concerned. She also tripled the initial payment for your care and authorized any experimental treatments if standard protocols failed. Danny absorbed this information. Captain Kresh. He hadn't known her name before. Has she said when she's coming back? She hasn't. But she sent you this. Dr. Freeman handed him a data pad. On the screen was a text message in Standard, translated from Vexorian. Human Danny Carter. You honored our agreement and saved lives at great cost to yourself. This demonstrates the strength of character my people value above all else. When you are recovered, I wish to speak with you about a matter of importance. Until then, heal well. Captain Zara Kresh. Danny read it 3 times. The tone was formal, almost stiff. But underneath, he detected something else. Genuine respect. Maybe even concern. Over the following weeks, Danny healed. The nanites rebuilt his damaged cells. His strength returned. The deep ache faded to a dull memory. By week 4, Dr. Freeman cleared him for discharge. Try not to absorb lethal doses of radiation anymore, she said with a slight smile. Danny promised he'd do his best. The problem was finding work. His reputation had spread. Danny Carter, the cargo specialist who saved a ship from reactor meltdown while working with raiders. Some potential employers saw him as a hero. Others saw him as a liability who'd cooperate with pirates. He spent 2 weeks on Meridian Station, burning through his savings on a cheap room while searching for a new position. Nothing materialized. He was sitting in a station bar, nursing his third drink, and contemplating selling his few possessions, when 3 women walked in. They were Vexorian. Scaled skin in different shades, amber eyes, powerful builds clad in civilian clothes that couldn't hide their military bearing. They moved through the bar like apex predators, drawing attention and wariness in equal measure. They walked directly to Danny's table. The one in the middle, with deep green scales and a scar across her left cheek, spoke first. "Danny Carter, that's me. I am Zara Kresh. We've communicated regarding your medical treatment." Danny stood quickly, nearly knocking over his drink. "Captain Kresh, I wanted to thank you for everything you did. The medical care, the cleared record, all of it. It was a debt owed. We Vexorians take such matters seriously." She gestured to the other 2 women. "These are my sisters, Commander Lyra Kresh and Lieutenant Kira Kresh." The sisters nodded. They looked similar enough to be related, but each had distinct features. Lyra had blue-tinged scales and moved with predatory grace. Kira was slightly smaller, with bronze scales and sharp, calculating eyes. "May we sit?" Zara asked. Of course. They took seats around the table. Other bar patrons gave them wide berth. Danny noticed the bartender, watching nervously. "We have a proposition for you," Zara said. "I'm listening. My sisters and I command a mercenary company. We take contracts across the sector, primarily security work and asset protection. Our unit has an opening for a human consultant." Danny blinked. "A consultant? I'm a cargo specialist. You are a human who remained calm during combat, who thought strategically under pressure, who risked death to save both enemies and allies. These are valuable traits. There are millions of humans with military training. Why me?" Lyra spoke for the first time. Her voice was deeper than Zara's, with a growling quality. "Because you have something more important than training. You have good instinct, and you owe us nothing, which means any loyalty you show is genuine," Kira added. "Also, you possess a Kresh family honor token. That grants you status in our culture. We would be honored to have you join our unit." Danny looked between the 3 sisters. This was surreal. A week ago, he couldn't find work. Now, 3 alien warriors wanted to hire him as a consultant. What exactly would I be consulting on? Human behavior? Human culture? Human tactics? Zara explained. Much of our work involves human clients or human targets. We need someone who understands how your species thinks, how they react, their weaknesses and strengths. That sounds like intelligence gathering. It is, combined with operational advising. The pay is substantial. The work is dangerous, but less so than manually resetting reactor cores. Danny couldn't argue with that logic. "Can I think about it? We leave Meridian Station in 6 hours. Join us, or don't. But decide, before then." Zara stood. Her sisters followed. They moved toward the door. Then Zara turned back. "One more thing. You said something on the ship that I've been considering, about emergency systems, sealing people away to die. About doing better than that. I remember. You were right. That's not the kind of warrior I want to be. That's why I need someone like you around. To remind me of that." She left before Danny could respond. He sat alone at his table, staring at his drink. 6 hours to make a decision that would change his entire life. Work with mercenaries. Travel the sector. Probably get shot at regularly. Or stay on Meridian Station. Eventually find boring cargo work. Live a safe and unremarkable existence. Danny thought about the reactor core, about the moment he chose to go in, knowing he'd probably die. He'd felt more alive in those seconds than in years of routine work. He finished his drink and stood. 3 hours later, he found himself on the Kresh sisters' ship, a sleek military transport called the Iron Talon. His possessions fit in a single bag. The sisters gave him a cabin, a data pad with his contract, and instructions to report to the briefing room at 0800 the next morning. Danny lay in his bunk that night, listening to the hum of the ship's engines. The Vexorian honor token sat on the small shelf beside his bed, gleaming in the dim light. He'd made his choice. Now he'd have to live with it. The Iron Talon had a crew of 30, 27 Vexorians, and now 3 humans, including Danny. The other 2 humans were veterans. Marcus Hunt, a grizzled former soldier who served as weapons specialist, and Amy Parker, a pilot with cybernetic implants that let her interface directly with the ship's systems. Both looked at Danny like he was a curiosity. "So you're the guy who went into a melting reactor," Marcus said during breakfast the next morning. "That's either brave or stupid." "Both, probably," Danny admitted. Amy laughed. "You'll fit in here." The Kresh sisters don't hire anyone completely sane. The briefing room was all business. Wall screens displayed tactical information. The 3 sisters stood at the front. A dozen Vexorian soldiers sat in chairs, their attention focused. Zara began speaking. "Our next contract is protection detail. A human research team is working on an archaeological site in the Outer Reach. They've requested security while they excavate pre-war ruins." A holographic image appeared, showing a desert planet with ancient structures partially buried in sand. "The danger?" Lyra asked rhetorically. "The site is disputed territory. Both the Terran Colonial Authority and the Zarathi Collective claim jurisdiction. We're there to make sure the archaeologists can work without getting caught in political crossfire," Kira added. "Intelligence suggests both sides may try to seize whatever the research team discovers. Our job is to prevent that." Zara looked directly at Danny. "This is where you come in." The research team leader, Dr. Nathan Ross, is notoriously difficult to work with. He distrusts military personnel. We need you to liaise with him, understand his concerns, keep him cooperative. You want me to babysit a scientist? We want you to keep him alive and convince him to follow our security protocols. Which, given his reputation, will be challenging. After the briefing, Danny studied Dr. Ross's file. The man had 3 doctorates, had published groundbreaking papers on pre-war civilizations, and had gotten 7 security teams fired for being overbearing and ignorant. This would be interesting. The Iron Talon arrived at the archaeological site 4 days later. The planet was called Dust Home, which was accurate. Red sand stretched to every horizon. The ancient ruins rose from the desert like broken teeth. A vast complex of buildings that had stood for thousands of years. The research camp consisted of prefab shelters arranged in a defensive perimeter. Dr. Ross met them at the landing pad, accompanied by 2 assistants. He was a thin man in his 50s, with sun-weathered skin and suspicious eyes. "You're the protection detail?" he asked, looking at Zara and her sisters. "We are. This is my unit." "Vexorians." "Wonderful. I specifically requested a low-profile team. We are low-profile when needed. This is Danny Carter, our human liaison. He'll coordinate between your team and ours." Dr. Ross transferred his suspicious gaze to Danny. "You're military. Cargo specialist, actually. Recently transitioned." "Cargo specialist?" Ross's expression shifted slightly. "That's unusual. Most mercenaries come from military backgrounds." "I'm not most mercenaries." Ross studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Fine. But I have rules. Your people stay out of the excavation area. No weapons near the artifacts. No interfering with our work." "Agreed," Zara said. "As long as you follow our security protocols. No one leaves the perimeter without escort. No unauthorized communications. You report any unusual activity immediately. Ross bristled. I'm not a child to be monitored. You're a client to be protected. There's a difference. For a moment, Danny thought Ross would refuse entirely. Then the scientist sighed. Fine. But I'm logging a complaint with your company. You're welcome to. Now, shall we begin? The next 2 weeks fell into a pattern. The research team excavated during the day. The mercenaries maintained a security perimeter and ran regular patrols. Danny split his time between both groups, trying to bridge the gap between suspicious scientists and frustrated soldiers. Dr. Ross remained difficult, but Danny learned to manage him. The key was showing genuine interest in the work. The ruins were fascinating, a civilization that had thrived before the Great War. Before humanity spread to the stars, had built this place. Every artifact told a story. These aren't just buildings, Ross explained one evening, showing Danny a carved tablet they'd discovered. They're a library, a repository of knowledge encoded in ways we're still decoding. This civilization knew something. Something they wanted to preserve. About what? About survival. About what destroyed them. About how to avoid repeating their mistakes. Danny felt a chill despite the desert heat. You think whatever destroyed them could threaten us? I think knowledge is never just academic. Someone always finds a way to weaponize it. That night, Zara called Danny to the command post. She and her sisters looked worried. We have a problem, Zara said. Long-range sensors detected ships entering the system. Zarathi, warships. 3 of them. Are they here for us? Unknown. But their trajectory will bring them to this planet within 24 hours. Lyra pulled up tactical displays. If they land, we're outnumbered. And outgunned. Our ship can't fight 3 warships. Kira said, we need to evacuate the research team. Now. Ross will refuse, Danny said. He's on the verge of a major discovery. He told me yesterday. They're close to accessing the central chamber. He won't leave. Then we make him, Zara said. That violates the contract. You're supposed to protect them, not force them. The contract doesn't cover suicide. If those ships are hostile and we're still here, everyone dies. Danny understood her logic. But he also understood Ross's perspective. The man had spent years searching for this site. To abandon it now. So close to the truth? Let me talk to him, Danny said. Give me 12 hours. If I can't convince him, we evacuate by force. The sisters exchanged glances. Finally, Zara nodded. 12 hours. Not a minute more. Zara. Zara. Danny found Ross in the excavation pit, carefully brushing sand from a doorway they'd uncovered. The other researchers had gone to sleep. But Ross worked by portable lights. Obsessed. Dr. Ross, we need to talk. Not now. We're almost through. Zarathi warships are coming. We might have to evacuate. Ross didn't look up. Then evacuate. You'll die. I've spent my entire career looking for this place. I'm not leaving before I see what's inside. Danny climbed down into the pit. The doorway was ancient, covered in symbols that seemed to shimmer in the light. What's so important about this? Ross finally looked at him. Do you know what the Great War did? It nearly wiped out a dozen species. Billions died. Entire worlds burned. And nobody really knows why it started. The records were destroyed. Corrupted. But these ruins predate the war. This civilization recorded what happened. They knew. 50 number one. 50 number one. Knew what? Why civilizations destroy themselves. What triggers the cycle of violence? How to break it. Ross's hands shook as he brushed more sand away. If I can access this knowledge, if I can share it, maybe we don't repeat their mistakes. Maybe we avoid another war. Danny looked at the doorway, at the obsessed scientist, at the darkness beyond. He thought about reactor cores and impossible choices. "Okay," he said. "I'll help you." Ross's head snapped up. "What?" "We have 12 hours before my team evacuates by force. Let's use them. Let's see what's behind that door." For the first time, Ross smiled. "Thank you. Truly." They worked together through the night. Danny's cargo handling experience proved useful. He understood leverage, weight distribution, how to move heavy objects safely. Together, they cleared the doorway. Behind it lay a chamber. Circular, maybe 30 feet across, with walls covered in inscriptions. And in the center, a crystalline structure that pulsed with faint light. "Incredible," Ross whispered. "It's still active. After thousands of years, it's still active." He approached the crystal carefully. Danny followed. As they got closer, the light intensified. Symbols appeared in the air. Holographic projections from the crystal. "It's a data storage device," Ross said, his voice filled with awe. "A three-dimensional archive. Everything they knew, preserved here. Can you read it?" "Given time, yes. But we don't have time." Ross pulled out a scanner. "I can make a copy, though. Download the entire database. Spend years studying it later." The scanner connected to the crystal. Data began flowing. Ross watched the progress bar, tense. Danny's communicator buzzed. Zara's voice came through. "Status? We found something." "Ross is downloading data. 30 minutes. The Yazarathi ships just accelerated. They'll be here in 6 hours, not 24. We need to move." "Understood." "We'll be there." He turned to Ross. The scientist was staring at the crystal with tears in his eyes. "It's all here," Ross said. "Everything they learned. About consciousness. About civilization. About the pattern of progress and destruction. It's beautiful. And terrifying." The download completed. Ross carefully disconnected the scanner, treating it like the precious treasure it was. They climbed out of the pit. The first light of dawn was breaking over the desert. The rest of the research team was awake, packing equipment under the watchful eyes of Vexorian soldiers. Zara approached. "Did you get what you needed?" Ross nodded, clutching the scanner. "More than I dared hope for." "Then let's leave before we become part of the archaeological record ourselves." They evacuated within the hour. The Iron Talon lifted off, its engines straining. Behind them, the ancient ruins stood silent in the morning sun. 4 hours later, Zarathi warships descended on the site. They landed troops and began their own excavation. But the central chamber was empty, its secrets already stolen away. On the Iron Talon, Danny sat with Ross in the cargo bay while the scientist reviewed his data. "You took a risk," Ross said. "Helping me." "They weren't. But I understood what drove you. Sometimes, the risk is worth it." Ross looked at him curiously. "You're different from most military types I've dealt with. I'm learning that different isn't necessarily bad." Later, Zara found Danny in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. "You disobeyed my orders," she said. "I did. You risked everyone's lives to help a stubborn scientist chase ancient knowledge." "Yes. Why?" Danny turned to face her. "Because some things matter more than safety. You taught me that. On the ship, when you decided to help the crew instead of just escaping with your soldiers." Zara's expression was unreadable. "You're either very wise or very foolish. I've been told I'm both." She almost smiled. "My sisters and I have been discussing you." "That sounds ominous. You've proven yourself valuable. More than that, you've proven yourself trustworthy. We've decided to offer you a permanent position with our company." Danny felt something shift in his chest. "I thought this was already permanent." "That was a trial period. This is different. This is family. I'm not Vexorian. Family isn't always about blood. It's about who stands beside you When things get dangerous. You've stood beside us. She placed something in his hand. Another honor token, but different. This one had 3 names inscribed on it. Zara, Lyra, and Kira. We claim you, she said formally. As part of our unit. As part of our family. Do you accept? Danny looked at the token. At Zara's serious expression. At the stars beyond the window. He thought about cargo holds, and reactor cores, and ancient ruins. About finding purpose in unexpected places. I accept, he said. Zara nodded, satisfied. Good. Because we have another contract. It's going to be dangerous. They all are. This one more than usual. Lyra, we'll brief you tomorrow. She turned to leave, then paused. Danny? Thank you. For reminding us why we do this. It's not just about survival or profit. It's about what we leave behind. After she left, Danny stood alone in the observation deck, holding the token that marked him as part of something larger than himself. He'd told a joke once, on a cargo ship, about being single. He'd never imagined where that moment would lead, but here he was, part of a mercenary family, facing the unknown with allies he trusted, and for the first time in years, Danny Carter felt like he'd found where he belonged. The dangerous contract Zara mentioned turned out to be an understatement. They were hired to protect a convoy of medical supplies through the Kesar Corridor, a stretch of space notorious for pirate activity and territorial disputes. The convoy consisted of 5 cargo ships carrying vaccines and trauma equipment to a colony hit by a plague outbreak. Simple protection job, Lyra explained during the briefing. We escort them through the corridor, hand them off to local security at the colony, collect our payment. What's the catch? Marcus asked. The Kesar Syndicate has been attacking medical shipments. They hold the cargo for ransom or sell it on the black market. Danny frowned. Why target medical supplies? That's unusually cruel. Even for pirates. Kira pulled up intelligence reports. The syndicate is run by a former military commander named Victor Kane. Human, ex-Terran Navy. He was discharged for war crimes 20 years ago and built a criminal empire in the outer sectors. The name Kane made Danny's skin crawl. He'd heard stories. Everyone had. Kane was famous for his brutality and for targeting the most vulnerable. If Kane wants the supplies, he'll bring everything he has, Amy said from her seat. We're talking at least a dozen attack ships, maybe more. Our ship alone can't fight that many, Danny said. Zara nodded. Which is why we're not fighting. We're running. She displayed a route through the corridor. We maintain maximum speed, ignore provocations, and rely on the Iron Talon's superior engines. The cargo ships are slow. But if we can keep them together and moving, we should reach the colony before Kane's forces can organize a coordinated assault. Should? Marcus repeated skeptically. 70% chance of success, Kira said. Those are acceptable odds. Danny thought about plague victims waiting for medicine and supplies, about ships full of hope being chased by pirates. 70% didn't feel like enough. But they were committed now. The convoy departed 3 days later. 5 bulky cargo ships formed a loose formation around the Iron Talon. Danny was stationed in the tactical center with the Kresh sisters, monitoring sensors. For the first 6 hours, everything went smoothly. They maintained speed, crossing into the Kesar corridor without incident. The cargo ship captains followed orders, keeping formation. Then the sensors lit up. Contact, Kira announced. Multiple signatures. Fast attack craft, bearing 270. On the display, red dots appeared. 1 became 3. 3 became 6. 6 became 12. Kane's welcome party, Lyra said grimly. Amy. Increase speed. Cargo ships. Match our acceleration. The Iron Talon surged forward. The cargo ships struggled to keep pace. The attack craft closed the distance rapidly. They're hailing us, Kira said. Ignore it, Zara ordered. The first weapons fire came seconds later. Plasma bolts streaked past, brilliant and deadly. The Iron Talon's shields flared as several hits connected. "Return fire," Zara commanded. "Defensive pattern only. Discourage pursuit, but don't engage directly." The Iron Talon's weapons turrets opened up. Several attack craft veered off, but others pressed forward. More ships appeared on sensors, coming from different vectors. "They're trying to surround us," Danny said, studying the tactical display. "We won't let them." Zara switched to the convoy channel. "All cargo ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Follow our exact course. Any deviation will leave you exposed." The Iron Talon dove toward a nearby asteroid field. The cargo ships followed, their bulky forms awkward but determined. Attack craft pursued, firing constantly. They wove through the asteroids at dangerous speeds. Twice, cargo ships came within meters of collision. One ship's shields collapsed, but they made it through without hull breaches. On the other side of the field, they had a brief respite. The attack craft had fallen back. "Regrouping. Damage report," Zara said. "Shields at 60%, Kira reported. Danny watched the tactical display. The damaged cargo ship was drifting out of formation, slowing. "It would be an easy target. We have to help them," he said. "If we break formation to assist, the entire convoy is vulnerable." Lyra countered. "If we leave them, Kane's forces will take them. All those medical supplies will never reach the colony." Zara looked at the display, calculating. "The ship's name is the Morning Star. They're carrying mostly vaccines. Essential cargo." "All the cargo is essential," Danny said. "That's why we're here." Zara made her decision. "Amy, bring us about. We're going back for the Morning Star. Lyra, take command of the remaining convoy. Get them to the colony. Don't wait for us." "Sister, that's suicide," Lyra protested. "That's an order." For a moment, the sisters locked eyes. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Lyra nodded. "Don't get killed." The Iron Talon separated from the convoy. Behind them, 4 cargo ships continued toward the colony under Lyra's protection. The Iron Talon turned back, racing toward the struggling Morning Star. Kane's attack craft saw the opportunity immediately. They swarmed toward the isolated cargo ship like predators sensing weakness. "We're not going to get there first," Kira said, her voice tight. "Yes, we are." Amy's eyes gleamed as she pushed the engines beyond safe limits. "Hold on." The Iron Talon accelerated harder than Danny knew was possible. The ship shook violently. Warning alarms blared, but they closed the distance, reaching the Morning Star seconds before the first attack craft. "Position us between them and the cargo ship," Zara ordered. "All weapons, maximum defensive spread." The Iron Talon became a wall of weapons fire. Plasma cannons, missile pods, and point defense systems all fired simultaneously. 3 attack craft exploded instantly. The others scattered, regrouping for another assault. "Morning Star, this is Iron Talon," Zara broadcast. "Status of your engines?" The response came through heavy static. "Coolant leak. We're trying to patch it, but need 10 minutes. You have 5. After that, we're all dead." The attack craft came again. More coordinated this time. They split into 2 groups, attacking from different angles. The Iron Talon's shields took tremendous punishment. "Shields at 40%, Kira announced. 20%, 10%. Then they failed entirely. The next volley of weapons fire tore into the hull. Explosions rocked the ship. Danny was thrown from his chair. Alarms screamed everywhere. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, Kira said, her voice remarkably calm despite the chaos. "Life support compromised." Zara pulled Danny to his feet. "Stay focused. We're not done yet." Amy performed an impossible maneuver, spinning the Iron Talon to present the least damaged side toward the attackers. The ship's weapons continued firing, Now, at point-blank range, 2 more attack craft exploded. Morningstar reports engines operational, Kira said. Then move, Zara shouted into the comm. Both ships, maximum speed. Heading 315. They accelerated together, the Iron Talon's damaged engines screaming in protest. The surviving attack craft pursued, but fell behind. Apparently, even Kane's pilots knew when the cost of engagement exceeded the value of the target. After an hour of running, they finally cleared the danger zone. The Morningstar's captain transmitted heartfelt thanks. They would reach the colony on their own. Now, the Iron Talon limped through space, multiple systems offline, hull breached in a dozen places, but they'd survived. Danny stood in the tactical center, looking at the damage reports. They'd come so close to dying. Zara appeared beside him, blood running from a cut on her forehead. You were right. We had to go back. You're the one who made that call. You reminded me why it mattered. The mission isn't just about survival. It's about protecting what needs protecting, even when the cost is high. These. Your ship is barely functional. Ships can be repaired. She looked at him directly. You've adapted quickly to this life. Most humans in your position would still be questioning whether they made the right choice. Maybe I'm still questioning it. But you're still here. That's what matters. They reached the colony 2 days later. The other cargo ships had arrived safely, thanks to Lyra's skilled command. The colony administrator, a woman named Sharon Ellis, met them personally. You saved 3,000 lives, she said, tears in her eyes. The plague was spreading faster than we could treat. Without these supplies, we would have lost entire towns. The colony held a celebration that night. Danny found himself surrounded by grateful people, many of whom wanted to shake his hand or thank him personally. It was overwhelming. He escaped to a quiet corner and found Marcus there, nursing a drink. Crazy life we signed up for, Marcus said. That's one way to put it. The Kresh sisters are good people, tough as hell, occasionally terrifying, but their hearts are in the right place. That's rare in this business. How long have you been with them? 5 years. Before that, I did contract work for various companies. Never found one worth staying with until I met Zara. She's different. She actually cares about doing the right thing, even when it costs her. Danny thought about the decision to turn back for the Morningstar, about how it had nearly gotten them all killed, but had ultimately saved thousands. Yeah, he agreed. The colony repaired the Iron Talon over the next 2 weeks. Their shipyards weren't sophisticated, but the workers were skilled and grateful. They rebuilt the damaged sections, patched the hull, and upgraded several systems as thanks. During this time, something shifted in the crew's attitude toward Danny. Before, he'd been the new guy, the human consultant they weren't sure about. Now, veterans like Marcus treated him as an equal. The Vexorian soldiers nodded to him in the corridors with respect. He'd proven himself. Not by being perfect, but by standing with them when it mattered. On the last night before departure, the 3 Kresh sisters invited Danny to a private dinner in their quarters. Vexorian food was heavy on protein and spices that made his eyes water, but he'd learned to appreciate it. We have a proposal, Zara said after they'd eaten. Another dangerous contract? Lyra smiled. Always. But this is different. Personal, Kira continued. In Vexorian culture, warriors often form bonded units. Groups who fight together, live together, share their lives. Like a family, Danny said. More than family, Zara corrected. Family is birth. A bonded unit is choice. We choose each other, commit to each other, trust each other with our lives. The 3 of us have been bonded since we were young, Lyra explained. But bonded units can grow, can welcome new members who prove themselves worthy. Danny's heart started beating faster. He understood where this was going. Kira placed something on the table, a bracer made of dark metal, inscribed with symbols. This is a bond mark. Wearing it signifies you are part of our unit. Part of us. We're offering you a place in our bond, Zara said. Not as an employee or a contractor. As an equal. As one of us. Danny looked at the three sisters, at their serious expressions, at the bracer on the table. This was huge. Life-changing. He'd only been with them for a few months, and they were offering him something that clearly held deep cultural significance. I'm human, he said. You're Vexorian. How does that even work? Bonds transcend species, Lyra said. What matters is the strength of our connection. Our shared purpose. If you accept, you would be the first human bonded to Vexorians, Kira added. It would be unconventional. I'm getting the sense that you three enjoy being unconventional. Zara's eyes gleamed. We've never been good at following tradition. Why start now? No. Danny picked up the bracer. It was heavier than it looked. Weighted with meaning. He thought about his life before. The boring cargo work. The loneliness. The feeling that he was just drifting through existence without purpose. Then he thought about reactor cores and ancient ruins and damaged ships limping to safety. About standing with people who risked everything to do what was right. About finding something worth fighting for. I accept, he said. The three sisters smiled simultaneously. Zara stood and took the bracer from his hands. She slid it onto his left forearm. It tightened automatically, conforming to his arm perfectly. You are bonded, Zara said formally. You are ours, and we are yours. Your fights are our fights. Your victories are our victories. We stand together. Lyra and Kira repeated the words. Then they placed their hands on Danny's shoulders. He felt warmth spread through him. Something beyond just physical touch. A connection. Deep and real. Later, lying in his bunk, Danny stared at the bracer on his arm. He'd told a joke once about being single. 3 alien sisters had claimed him instantly, though not in any way he could have predicted. He smiled in the darkness. Sometimes, the best things in life were the ones you never saw coming. The Iron Talon's next contract seemed routine by comparison. They were hired to investigate a distress signal from a research station in the frontier zone. Standard rescue operation. Minimal combat expected. They should have known better. The research station, called Outpost 17, orbited a gas giant in an uninhabited system. When they arrived, the station was dark. No lights, no power signatures, no response to hails. Life signs? Sarah asked. Kira checked her sensors. Faint readings. Maybe 20 people still alive inside. But something's interfering with detailed scans. Could be shielding from whatever attacked them, Lyra suggested. They docked with the station carefully. The boarding team consisted of Danny, the 3 sisters, Marcus, and 4 Vexorian soldiers. They entered through the main airlock, weapons ready. Inside, the station was a tomb. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. The corridors were empty, showing signs of panic. Personal belongings scattered. Dried blood on the walls. Fan out, Zara ordered. Teams of 3. Find survivors and determine what happened here. Danny went with Zara and Kira. They moved through the habitation section, checking each room. Empty quarters. Abandoned mess hall. A medical bay with equipment still running, but no patients. This is wrong, Danny whispered. If there was an attack, where are the bodies? Good question, Kira said. They reached the central laboratory. The door was sealed, but Kira bypassed the lock. Inside, they found survivors. 15 scientists and technicians huddled in a corner, armed with improvised weapons. They pointed them at the boarding team. Don't shoot, Zara said, raising her empty hands. We're responding to your distress call. We're here to help. A woman stepped forward. Dr. Helen Martinez, according to her name tag. She looked exhausted and terrified. "You need to leave. Now. Before it comes back." "Before what comes back?" Danny asked. "We don't know what to call it. We found it in the planet's atmosphere. Thought it was a new form of gas-dwelling organism. Brought a sample aboard for study." Her hands shook as she continued. "It's not an organism. It's something else. Something intelligent. And angry." Zara's communicator crackled. Marcus's voice came through. "Urgent. We have contact. Something's moving in the ventilation system. Fast. Pull back to the lab," Zara ordered. "Everyone converge on our position." They heard it before they saw it. A sound like wind and whispers combined. Then, the ventilation grate above them exploded outward. Something poured into the room. It was like living gas, shifting and changing, forming shapes that almost looked intentional. Tendrils reached out. One touched a Vexorian soldier. He screamed and collapsed, his body convulsing. "Fall back," Zara shouted. They retreated into the corridor. The entity followed, flowing through the air like smoke. Weapons fire passed through it, harmlessly. "It's not solid," Kira said. "Conventional weapons are useless." They ran. Behind them, the entity pursued, growing larger. It filled the corridor, a wall of living gas bearing down on them. Danny's mind raced. Gas. Living gas. What affected gas? Temperature. Pressure. Composition. "The airlock," he shouted. "If we can vent it into space, maybe we can dissipate it." Zara understood instantly. "Everyone to the main airlock. Now." They sprinted. The entity gained ground. Another soldier fell, touched by those ethereal tendrils. The survivors from the lab ran with them, pure terror, driving them forward. They reached the airlock. Zara started the override sequence to open the outer door. Danny grabbed emergency oxygen masks from the wall locker, throwing them to everyone. "Put these on. We're about to lose atmosphere." The entity flowed into the airlock chamber. Everyone was inside now. The inner door sealed. Zara hit the final command. The outer door opened to vacuum. Atmosphere rushed out, carrying the entity with it. For a moment, Danny thought it had worked. The gas creature was pulled into space, dissipating in the void. Then it reformed, right outside the open airlock. And it was coming back in. "Close the door!" Lyra screamed. "It's not responding," Zara said, frantically working the controls. "The system's damaged." The entity flowed back into the airlock. Without atmosphere to carry it, it moved more slowly. But it was adapting. Learning. Danny saw a fire control station on the wall. Emergency protocol in case of fire. Vent the section and flood it with suppressant gas. He smashed the cover and pulled the lever. Suppressant gas, heavier than air, designed to smother flames, began flooding the airlock. The entity recoiled. The gas seemed to interfere with its structure, confusing it. "It doesn't like the suppressant," Danny said. "The chemical composition disrupts its cohesion." Kira immediately understood. "The station's main tanks. If we can flood the entire station with suppressant, we can force it out." They sealed the airlock with the entity trapped inside, drowning in suppressant gas. Then they ran to the station's environmental control center. Dr. Martinez helped them access the system. "If we do this, the station will be uninhabitable for days until we can clear the gas. Better than being uninhabitable forever because everyone's dead," Marcus pointed out. They activated every suppressant system in the station simultaneously. Gas flooded through the corridors, the laboratories, the living quarters. Through the windows, they watched the entity try to escape, only to find suppressant everywhere it went. Finally, it fled back into the ventilation system and out into space, dissolving into the void around the station. For several minutes, nobody spoke. They just breathed through their masks, watching to see if it would return. It didn't. "What was that thing?" Danny finally asked. Dr. Martinez shook her head. We don't know. Our initial analysis suggested it was a complex hydrocarbon structure that had somehow achieved consciousness. But that's impossible according to every model we have. Clearly your models are incomplete. Lyra said. They evacuated the station 6 hours later, after clearing enough suppressant gas to make it safe. The survivors were traumatized, but grateful. 5 people had died, touched by the entity, and poisoned by whatever energy it carried. On the Iron Talon, Danny sat with the Kresh sisters in the observation deck. You saved us again, Zara said. Your quick thinking with the suppressant. I was terrified, Danny admitted. That thing was like nothing I've ever seen. Fear is natural, Kira said. Courage is acting despite the fear. You're fitting into this bonded unit well, Lyra added. Adapting to situations most humans would find overwhelming. Danny touched the bracer on his arm. I have good teachers. And we have a good student, Zara said. She hesitated, then continued. Danny, there's something we need to tell you about why we really invited you into our bond. He looked at them, surprised by the serious tone. Lyra spoke next. In Vexorian culture, when warriors bond, it's not just about fighting together. It's about building a life together. A future. I thought we were doing that, Danny said. Yes, but... Kira seemed to struggle for words, which was unusual for her. There's a deeper level of bonding, one that involves romantic commitment, Zara finished. We 3 sisters have been bonded our whole lives, but we've always known our bond was incomplete, that we needed someone else to balance us. Danny's brain stopped working. Wait. That we've developed feelings for you, Zara said bluntly. All 3 of us. Independently at first. Then we discussed it and realized we all felt the same. In human terms, I believe this would be called polyamory. Kira added helpfully. Danny stood up, walked to the window, walked back, sat down. Let me make sure I understand. You 3 want to. With me. All of us. 3. All of us. Yes, they said in unison. That's insane. Is it? Lyra asked. You've already bonded with us as warriors. You trust us with your life. We trust you with ours. Why is emotional and romantic bonding so different? Because you're 3 people. And aliens. And you're attracted to all of us, Zara said. It wasn't a question. Danny opened his mouth to deny it. But he couldn't, because she was right. Over the past months, he'd developed feelings for all 3 sisters. Their strength, their honor, their different personalities that somehow complemented each other. He'd tried to ignore it, thinking it was impossible and inappropriate. This is too much, he said. We're not asking for an answer now, Kira said gently. We're just being honest about our feelings. Take whatever time you need to process this. They left him alone in the observation deck. Danny stared out at the stars, his mind reeling. He'd joked about being single once. The universe had apparently taken that as a challenge. The question was, what was he going to do about it?